There were protests yesterday in Rochester, New York, after police body cam footage was released. Daniel Prude died while in police custody back on March 23rd. Now, a warning to our viewers, the video you're about to see is graphic. Daniel's brother, Joe, called police for help because Daniel was apparently suffering a mental health episode. Police eventually stopped Daniel in the street. He was naked at that point. Daniel complied after police ordered him to lay on the ground and put his hands behind his back. He was then handcuffed. Later, police put a hood over his head after he spat and yelled at them. Daniel became more agitated, yelling and screaming profanities. Later, 3 cops held him down with one officer holding his head against the pavement for minutes until eventually he stopped breathing. The medical examiner ruled his death a homicide. None of the officers have been charged, but the New York Attorney General is investigating. Here is what Daniel's brother Joe said yesterday during a press conference.
I placed a phone call for my brother to get help, not for my brother to get lynched.
Wow. Hard to watch, Al, especially considering that, you know, he's the most vulnerable. Our mentally ill are the most vulnerable. Many of our viewers writing in, you know, if we were to have a mental health professional answer those calls, it would save lives. What do you say to that?
And I know a lot of people say, well, we can't have a mental health professional go out with each police officer. I do understand that. But if we gave half the time that we dedicated to training, to shooting, to tasing, to wrestling down, to mental health, because that's what a lot of these calls are. There's not a lot of people on the planet, Sam, Jeff, you know this, that just wake up in the morning like, I am going to do evil today and there's nothing you can stop me. There are people that are like that, the Parkland shooter, the guy in Vegas. They were just on a mission. A lot of the things that we're seeing is mental health. That man was naked outside in the snow. What do you think has to be going on in your mind for that? Think about where you would have to be mentally for that to seem like a good idea for you. So when we start to look at these people, let's have some empathy and just understand they are out of their mind. They need help. We figured out how to help these people, and it's not by holding them down and handcuffing them. If that worked, we would have figured this out in the 1930s.
Yeah. What would you say, Jeff?
Great point, Al. I've said this in the past about training and getting, you know, different philosophies, maybe different departments into the police department. I don't want to go into defunding or funding the police. That's a whole different conversation. But I do want to say, would you send an ambulance to go put out a fire? You wouldn't call the ambulance to put out, you know, when you're on to call the fire department. You wouldn't call the fire department when there's a bank robbery. You have to have specific training. Police are put out there and they do an amazing job most of the time. And they have a lot of, you know, buckets to fill with water. You can't fill up all these buckets. That was a terrible analogy, but you know what I'm getting at. They have too much on their plate as it is. We need some mental health training. We need some different kind of department. I don't know what the answer is. I'm kind of scrambling in my brain, Sam, while I'm kind of saying this. But we need to change something because it's not working.
No, you make perfect sense, Jeff. You really do. To have an additional department specifically for this, when there are so many calls that are dedicated for this, it would save lives. So I'm with you, both of you, 100%.